hope you didn't know that I'm a frivolous hoe.
I'm a frivolous hoe. I'm a frivolous hoe.
Back with a sip of wine.
Oh, a glistening sip of wine.
Glistening box wine.
Oh, box wine? Is it the Black Label box wine?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I knew it.
That's the only kind of, dude, box wine, your average $20 bottle of box wine purchase is just as good as any like average $15, $20 bottle of wine. Changed my mind.
I agree. Full-heartedly.
Now, box wine for like $5 at Walgreens. I used to drink that shit when I lived in Miami. So I was really broke. $5. It was like four something. Box wine, Walgreens. I think it was like Walgreens brand or some shit. That was like drinking paint thinner.
Oh, gross. That's called being a frivolous hoe, is what that is.
Sometimes you gotta be frivolous hoe.
All right, so we're back. I'm the Masochis. Welcome back to a part 2 of a series. I got the Trough here with me yet again. The Trough in the house.
Dude, I'm so excited. I want to know what happened to... Let me go first, my lady. Boom! Blackout.
We gotta know. So this is part 2, author Extruded Introvert, and the title! She said no strings attached, but I think she lied. Part 2.
Unequivocal moment of truth. You have to go back and listen to part 1.
You have to listen to part 1.
Back your ass up.
The author says in the first sentence that it's up to you, but it's not.
It's not up to you.
And we're telling you to go back and watch part 1. It's good.
You have to.
It's worth it. I mean, what kind of like megalomaniac does that and watches like part 6 of part, and never watched anything else? Like, who does that?
I've definitely accidentally done that.
There's somebody out there right now like curling and like looking into the corner like, not me. It's okay.
Let's see where this gets interesting. No,
we
man.
all have bad habits.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
Let's get into it. I woke up in darkness, unsure where I was. My body felt stiff, my chest tightening with each breath, like something was constricting me. A coarse blanket weighed over me, suffocating in its own way. Even my arms felt heavy, pinned down by strings anchored into my veins. I was wrapped in a cocoon I couldn't escape.
Oh, you called it, boy. You fucking called that shit.
Unbelievable. But like the terror in that, like that's horrific. Could you imagine? Like there's arachnophobia, there's claustrophobia, depending on who you are, maybe agoraphobia. Like this guy seems like he might be kind of down that aisle too. He's kind of a hermit, so maybe he's dealing with all these phobias like all at once. His mind's probably racked.
I finally left the fucking house. Now I'm fucking wrapped up. I'm all tight, close space, and what else does that but spiders? You called that shit, dude. I'm impressed because it didn't even cross my mind in part 1. As soon as you said that, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it started adding up a little bit.
I'm not good at math.
And neither am I.
I feel like that could be comfortable though. Like kind of like how you swaddle babies.
Oh yeah.
It brings out that comfort. Just like all wrapped up.
It depends on who you are and if you've been squeezed tight your whole entire life and you're used to it. I don't know. My neck was squeezed too tightly to take in enough air and my breaths came in shallow bursts. I was a fly caught in a web. One by one, my senses returned. The soft hum of machines filled the silence, the sharp scent of antiseptic cutting through the haze. The room swam in and out of focus. It wasn't a web, it was a hospital bed. But even as the confusion faded, the feeling of being trapped didn't. I tried to move, but a sudden pain flared through my neck, the brace holding me still. I laid there awake for hours, hopeless. It wasn't until one of the nurses carefully turned me over to my side I saw the bundle of flowers next to a bottle of whiskey. It was the same flowers from where I first picked up Moira. I knew it was from her. I don't recall much of our small talk leading up to the cliff, but I remember mentioning I was whiskey guy. The faint memory gave me hope. I knew she was the one who had saved me from a watering grave. Fuck.
That blows my mind even more that it's not a spider web because
it blows my mind that he's a whiskey guy. That blows my mind.
That's fair. I would take him for more like a Smirnoff or what's what's that stuff people drink these days? I don't fucking know. But it's so weird that you thought it was a spider. All those signs. So he like obviously led us down a path to believe that because you grabbed onto that. Starts this part of the story as though he is wrapped, and that makes so much sense. Like, so he laid the bait. It's just very well written.
Yeah, it's extremely well written. It's like you still don't know 100%. Like it still hasn't been completely released if what I am thinking is true or not. He hasn't gone all in on it yet, which is really, really, really cool. I like the fact that he's holding that back still, probably until a more important time in the story.
And with that type of twist, it makes me even wonder if like maybe he is in a spider web and there's some kind of like chemical interaction of like keeping him calm from not trying to escape to make him think he's somewhere else.
Maybe he's like being drugged, like, and he's hallucinating that he's in a hospital bed and he's really not. The only person who visited me was Joshua. I expected a friendly greeting, but all I got was an earful about how reckless I'd been. After an hour of I told you so, he finally relented and asked me about the rest of the date. I told him everything I could remember. To me, the events happened only a few hours ago, but apparently, I'd been in the hospital for a week before even waking up. And on top of that, another 3 days had passed before I was able to write anything down. Sorry you guys got the watered down version of the events in part 1. The realization didn't hit me in the way you would think. I wasn't concerned about the time I lost. The only thought on my mind was if she still remembered me, if she still cared enough to see me again. In my current predicament, strung up in a hospital bed, I thought my chances with Maura were over. Desperate for any sort of communication with her, I begged Joshua to bring my laptop to the hospital. He reluctantly agreed, but not before imparting more of his wisdom. I was growing sick of it. He paced up and down the hospital room, waving his hands like a preacher delivering a sermon.
I don't like this. Look at you. Look at where this Moira girl got you. You should be happy you are alive, man. If you keep pushing, I don't know how much more you can take. If you want my advice, just cut ties with her and...
I cut him off before he could finish.
You don't even know her. How could you blame her for this? How can you point fingers when it was your advice that led to all of this?
I spoke harshly, aware of how defensive I was being. The words felt strange. Arguing with Joshua was something I'd never done before. We had never even disagreed on anything. This was the first time I pushed back instead of just going along with what he suggested. His calm response caught me off guard.
I do know her.
His voice didn't sound convinced of the words it carried.
We briefly met at the hospital after your accident. We exchanged numbers. She asked me to let her know when you woke up.
He hesitated, his uncertainty deepening.
There was something off about her, man. Her eyes, they were colder and more aged than in her pictures. Did you let her know?
I asked eagerly. His tone softened, shifting from ignorance to compassion. This was the Joshua I knew.
Not yet. I'll let her know tonight, and I'll bring you your laptop tomorrow. I can see this is important to you. I'm sorry you think this is my fault.
With a slight grin, he continued.
But hey, at least you're out of the house.
His twisted sense of humor almost made me chuckle, if only the pain would allow it. The next day couldn't come fast enough. The hope of seeing Moira again was all I could think about. In a misguided attempt to make the night pass quicker, I asked the nurses for more sedatives. I'm not sure what they gave me, but the effects were immediate. It was like I was pulled into a deep sleep, one I've never known before. If only they'd warned me about the side effects. Here we go. You might be on to something with your last little thing about hallucinating this guy.
I like that nothing is strictly obvious here.
Nothing is certain. That is something that writers, they lose grasp of nowadays. They're like, this is how this happens, and this is how this happens. This guy's like, this is how this might happen, but I'm going to tease you with this little thing over here.
And that's what makes it so good. That's so much harder to do because like you can always state the obvious. Like this dude led us down a path, planted clues that led your mind to think spider. I didn't pick up on that. I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see that. Starts off in a web, flip-flops to in a hospital bed. And man, it's just like he's planting all these little seeds to make you think you know what's going on, but you don't. And it leaves you wanting more.
I'm bricked out. I'll need more.
I'm bricked out. I'm bricked out.
That night, I had a nightmare, brought on by whatever the nurses gave me. I was still trapped in the hospital, in the same room. But now, everything was shrouded in darkness. I awoke even slower than before, my senses muffled and distant. But I knew there was someone in the room with me, an old woman. Couldn't quite place her at first. The figure was small and frail, her presence oddly familiar, yet foreign. I thought it might be my grandmother, but then I remembered she died years ago. The woman knew I was awake and stood up from the chair. She quietly walked over to me and placed her hand on my face. It was cold, but as it pressed against my face, I felt a strange warmth, as if the touch was meant to comfort me. She leaned in closer, her breath cold against my ear. Then, in a voice soft yet chilling, she whispered,
"Just point me to your pain, and I will do the rest. I'll clean you of this mess. In trade, I will request the recesses of your mind, of which I'll weave my nest."
Bro, I got goose pimples right now.
This bitch is some kind of spider queen.
Dude, it's like she's like a spider witch. It's like
Oh,
a
wow.
hybrid of a spider and a witch. Or maybe a witch that takes spider-like form.
Is this her real form, so to speak? Like maybe she is an old lady and she like feeds on things and...
Maybe that's how she stays young. I don't know.
You know what though? Goth mommy, you're still like, take me, do what you gotta do.
Put me in that web.
Brick
Weave
me
up. I'm
up.
bricked. My brick's ridiculous.
I'm going to the brickyard if you know what I mean.
Just point me to your pain. My pain's in my brick, and I need to help my brick.
I'm gonna just spit shit all over my fucking computer.
The words were cold and ominous, their implications comforting at first, and then at the same time, terrifying. Yet they were spoken as kindly as a lullaby, guiding me back to sleep. My laptop arrived the next morning, and with it, the painful acceptance that my body was still too weak to make use of it. My message to Moira would have to wait. I spent the next 2 days trapped in my own thoughts, barely able to move. On the third day of waiting for Moira to visit, I finally caved. Ignoring the doctor's advice, I convinced a nurse to help me set up my laptop. I needed to write her something just to show I was alive. Once I booted up my laptop, I was met with the last page I had visited before our date.
Gothmummies.com.
What was that? Oh, it was
Gothic cottagecore.
Yeah, Gothic cottagecore.
Goth cottagecore, yeah.
Blew my mind, never heard of it. It's a real thing. Go look it up. The nurse looked at me funny as I tried to suppress my laughter. There, in bold letters, right above 5 glowing stars, I realized why the diner's owner's name sounded familiar. Not wanting to dwell on our first date any longer, I closed the page and opened Moira's messages. No new messages.
How depressing.
Yeah, tear.
I thought he said that she brought him the whiskey. He assumed, right?
He was assuming that. He woke up with those things already there.
But the flowers were from her that area, and he had told her that he was a whiskey guy.
Correct. So he is assuming that it's her, but he doesn't know for sure.
And I mean, like, somebody took him to the hospital, right?
She would have had to have been the one to save him.
Right.
She was the only one there. They were in the middle of the woods. So either he would have died because she left him there, or she saved him.
I want to know that story. I know he said she was really strong, but I mean, like, that's a full-grown dude, dead weight, trying to get him out of that place that was pretty treacherous to get up to in the first place.
This dude's in the Matrix right now, hooked up, stuffed in a cocoon, and she's feeding off of him.
I think that might be the truth, yeah.
That might be the truth. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. In fact, it looked like Moira hadn't been online for the past week. My heart sank knowing she hadn't written me, but at least she wasn't online looking for someone else. I sent her a pretty desperate and way too long message that she hasn't replied to yet. So I won't repeat it here, for my own sake and for whoever ends up reading this. With nothing else to do between physical therapy and doctor's visits, I decided to write down my experience so far, mostly as a mental exercise to try and remember what happened, and to serve as a warning to myself and anyone else planning to go hiking on their first date. Since I woke up, it took me almost another week of writing, but I'm finally all caught up. I know that seems slow, but between piecing together my memories and then painfully writing them down, I think I did okay. And just in time, too. I'm finally getting released today. Joshua was picking me up in my car. He gave Moira my address so she could leave my car there. She didn't know what else to do with it after driving me to the hospital that day, the day I spent so long trying to recall. The next thing I write should be from the comfort of my own home. I should feel relieved, but I can't shake this strange, lingering feeling. Like there's something I'm forgetting, but I can't quite place my finger on it. My first night back was worse than anything I've ever expected. Not even the creepy old lady at the hospital can compare to what happened last night. Let me preface this by saying I don't usually have a nightcap before bed, but last night I made an exception. When I got home and unpacked my things, I found a bouquet of dead flowers that served as a reminder of my relationship status with Moira. I put them into a vase of water, even though I fear it might be too late. With a sad sigh, I picked up the bottle of whiskey Moira had given me as a get-well-soon gift. I'd planned to keep it for sentimental value, but after these last 2 weeks, I figured I deserved a drink. Falling asleep was easy, even with the itchy neck brace. I don't know if it was the whiskey or the last few sleepless nights I spent in that rigid yet worn-out hospital bed, but I was exhausted. So tired that I even felt groggy during my dream, almost like the anesthetic the doctors gave me hadn't worn off yet. I guess it's my fault for mixing my pain medication with vintage. I should have known something was off the moment I got home, but exhaustion has a way of dulling your instincts. No shit, that's what I'm doing right now. The dream started off like any other. I was drifting into that strange state between falling asleep and clinging to consciousness. Of course, I know now that I must have been asleep and dreaming because there's no logical explanation for what happened next. The room was silent as any other night outside the city. My eyes were closed and I could almost convince myself I was asleep, but then I heard it. It was faint, but unmistakable. The heavy silence was broken up with what I could only describe as the sound of fingers cracking or ligaments popping into place. My eyes shot open. Oh boy.
Spider time.
Don't get too crazy because he's just dreaming. Remember that. Remember that we don't know if this whole entire story is a dream, so remember that too. Something was moving, crawling onto the mattress. I couldn't see it, not fully, but at this point it was merely a suggestion of motion in my periphery. That's when I felt it, a slow, calculated weight shifting closer from the foot of my bed. I was begging every muscle in my body to allow me to sit up and turn on the light. Not a single one listened to my plea. The only thing I could move was my eyes. I looked down, as far down as my eyes would allow. I tried to lift my head, but if the paralysis wasn't enough to keep me anchored, the neck brace made sure of it. It was hopeless. I could feel the pressure building in my throat, making it almost impossible to breathe. The popping noise faded, replaced by the relentless pounding of my heartbeat, hammering against my eardrums as if desperate to escape. All the while, the silhouette was inching closer, the weight carefully shifting on the mattress. The shape was hovering over me, making sure not to touch me. Bro, the way this guy writes, it's on point. It's not over the top. It's not like, I don't feel like I'm reading like my nephew's story that he wrote, last year or something like that. There is such a thing as overdoing it, and this guy's like right in that pocket where it's perfect.
Perfect.
I can see what's happening. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like in my mind, I can see it.
And like in your head, you can kind of see like a spider, the idea of that calculated movement, the creeping up the bed. It's beautifully written. It's got me sucked in.
My breathing was rapid and uncontrollable, and my heartbeat was growing louder. So I did the only thing I could think of in that situation. I used the only part of the... I got this burp that's like... I gotta keep that in there too. I used the only part of my body I still had control over.
My brick.
My brick! Fully awaiting.
Wow.
Don't worry, I'll kill this thing with my brick.
You ever brick a spider?
Oh, I've bricked a spider before. Oh, yeah.
I bet you have.
I mean, like, I've dropped a brick on a spider before. I shut them with the same force I had opened them when I first heard that dreadful noise. The instant I closed my eyes, everything went quiet. All movement stopped, and my mattress was suddenly as stiff as the hospital bed I had grown accustomed to. It was all inside my head, I thought.
It's just a bad dream. Keep your eyes closed and focus on falling asleep. This will all be over when you wake up.
I laid there for what felt like hours, but realistically, it was just a few minutes. All I could do was wait. Wait for sleep or wait for my body to finally respond. I am not a patient man, and I never have been. But after what I saw last night, I will never complain about a red light ever again. I wish I had kept my eyes closed, But against my better judgment, I slowly opened them, my eyes adjusting to the darkness all too easily. Then I saw it. Its face was only a few centimeters from mine. The skin was smooth and pale, cracked like a porcelain doll, and stretched too tightly over the ridges of its face. But it was the eyes that held me in place, a row of 8 black pearls that tapered out to the sides.
There it is.
Dude, I'm goosebumping hard right now. The largest of which was a pear placed right in the middle, easily distinguishable by the glint of light collected in them, like pools of ink sucking up the last bit of light in the room. Bro, that's scary shit right there. If you were laying in bed and you opened your eyes and you were face to face with an 8-eyed arachnid that was just as big as you, tell me what you would do. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, you're already in kill zone, like easily end you in any second. So what do you just like relax? What do you like? What's the natural thing to do in that point?
I think it's interesting how it says like the skin was smooth and pale, and that likens to like her paleness. Like this isn't like a black spider or a big furry brown spider. Still trying to get my head around if this thing has any resemblance of her. He doesn't mention it, so I'm taking it doesn't, but the skin is smooth and pale, cracked like a porcelain doll, stretched too tightly over the ridges of its face. I don't even know what to think. It's kind of like, I guess we're going to find out as it unrolls here, but I think I'd probably reach for that bottle.
Be like, hey, do you want to drink too before we do whatever you're about to do?
Do you mind if I finish this off?
Yeah, let me drink this, and when you suck me dry, it'll make it a little bit better for you. Who knows? The time for screaming had long passed. All I could do was stare. I didn't even bother attempting to move anymore. For all I knew, my paralysis had worn off, but I didn't care. Its gaze was unblinking, relentless, consuming. The darkness inside those eyes seemed to ripple, as though something just moved beneath. The sharp reflection of the room was mirrored in their glossy surfaces. The longer I stared, the more the room's reflection fell out of focus, and I could feel myself slipping further into pure darkness. I was falling down a well and unraveling like a poorly made basket, drifting into the void. The next thing I remember is waking up, expecting the unusual soft morning light to seep through my paper-thin curtains, gradually brightening the room. Instead, the harsh midday sun spilled in unapologetically. Still, it was a welcome change for the unforgiving darkness of the previous night. I glanced at my alarm clock, but I couldn't see the time. Slowly, I turned my stiff body and clumsily reached over, knocking the half-empty whiskey bottle out of the way.
Half empty?
Half empty, bro.
Dude's on fucking painkillers and you drink half a bottle of whiskey? You deserve those dreams, son. That's dumb. I bet you a shot or two would have did you in.
It's probably his brain starting to shut off. Like,
Yeah.
somehow he came through.
Hallucinating.
Whiskey and pain meds? No.
I think it's absolutely a fact, though, that we're dealing with some kind of spider queen type thing at this point. All the, he's baiting us in there.
Like, it's definitely has something to do with an arachnid.
They're cool creatures, man. They're cool creatures for sure. They seem to have a more of a self-awareness than a lot of...
Yeah, their awareness is the only reason why they're alive. And that's why they, like, feel the wind blowing on their webs, and they can tell whenever something is in their web. Like, they're very, very hyper-focused of their surroundings, for sure. Still half asleep, I stumbled out of my room into the hallway. At first, I thought the old, stained wallpaper had little square patches of new wallpaper stuck over it. Then I noticed the wooden floorboards were scattered with broken glass and fallen picture frames. I didn't bother picking up all of them, but one caught my attention. When I took it out of the broken frame, I saw myself and my grandmother standing in front of an old house in the woods. I was just a child. Beside us were two unfamiliar faces, a man and a woman.
An aunt and an uncle? Family, friends, my parents? Why can't I remember what happened to them?
Memories swarm around in my head, but none pertain to my parents. I was starving by this point, so I figured I'd save time and make breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at once, which just meant pouring a comically large bowl of cereal. Now I'm sitting at the dining room table, spoon in one hand, and the other on my keyboard, writing down what I remember from last night's dream. All the while I was thinking of the photograph next to my laptop, the old picture patiently resting on the polished surface of my grandmother's vintage table. I slid it closer, Shifting my focus from the two strangers, I instead studied the background. A brand new tire swing hung from an old tree, and the house, I couldn't quite place it, but I knew I had been there as a kid. Strangely, recalling details from the picture felt harder than remembering a dream. On a different note, I once read something about Chinese water torture. Don't ask me why I remember this, but not my childhood. Memories are strange like that. Anyway, it was a method where drops of water slowly dripped onto a person's head at irregular intervals. The randomness of the dripping can lead to psychological effects, since the victim can't anticipate when the next drop will fall. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, stress, and even hallucinations. About halfway through writing this entry, I started feeling a faint, inconsistent drip coming from the ceiling above me. I described the source, but what would require me to get up, take almost 4 steps back, and painfully crane my head far enough back to even see the ceiling. It's too much effort for what I already know is just a leak. I've tried moving the seats 3 times, but the dripping seems to follow me wherever I sit. Then it happened. After finishing my cereal and absentmindedly twirling my spoon, I swear I saw something. On the glossy surface of the spoon, a flash of movement caught my eye. A large shape skittering across the ceiling behind me. It moved like a shadow, but its color was pale white. I saw it only for a second. It was swift and fleeting, but its form was unmistakable. A spider, bigger than a person. Its 8 legs pushing and pulling out of the room in one smooth, coordinated motion. Bro. It's so good. It's so good. It's so well written.
I think it's interesting that if there is this spider creature, I'm interested to understand the motive. Is that spider actually her? Because let's say it is. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would you even take him to the hospital? You already had him out in the middle of nowhere. Could have ate him or done whatever it is that you wanted. Or, like in his dream, whenever that witch thing came to him, she wanted his memories. Do you remember her saying that? And he can't remember his parents. He can't remember that kind of stuff right now. So, obviously, whatever she wants from him is more than just flesh, and it can't happen like that, or she would have done it already, right?
So the fun fact about spiders is whenever they have an abundance of food, they'll actually keep certain things alive so that they don't immediately die, and they'll actually get more sustenance from them. If the spider's starving, it's going to eat to keep itself alive. But if the spider has a plentiful amount of food, it will go from one thing to the other and take only what is necessary to sustain and keep as many things alive as it can. So it might be feeding him to keep him so that it still has something to feed off of.
That's a good point. It's fair.
It's a very, very interesting situation. I almost jumped out of my skin. I spun around as fast as I could, whipping my head back. The pain was immense, shooting through me like lightning striking the back of my neck. In a frantic attempt to look at the ceiling, I found myself on my hands and knees staring at the floor. Slowly, I pulled myself out of the chair. I was lightheaded, on the verge of fainting. I jumped at every black spot in my vision. For a moment, I just sat there, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. It was then that I recalled reading about water torture and how it could cause hallucinations, which, oddly, gave me some comfort. At least now the dripping has stopped. I'll post all that I have written so far for part 2. I can't bear to sit here and write another word. Not after what I just saw. I think I'll message Joshua to come over. I can't be alone right now. I'll keep you guys updated if anything else happens. Expect another part soon. Very good, man. Holy cow.
Really, really
It's
interesting.
good, dude. It's good.
I'm invested, dude.
I'm addicted to not knowing what's going on. Like, I feel like nowadays you read these stories and, you know, I've read a lot of stories, even my short period of time of doing this. You eventually start to see patterns where you're like, okay, this is going to happen next. And most stories are pretty predictable, but this one is still like a wide open field. Like it's heading in a direction, but at any point in time, he could literally wake up and they could be like, oh, you were in a really bad car accident. Or he could wake up and there's a spider eating him. And then it's over. You don't know. You don't know what's happening.
And this is probably really obvious, but like I didn't make this correlation because I was just like, all right, what's the story called again? No Strings Attached.
Yeah.
That it's pretty
silk strings.
Mm-hmm.
It's well thought of in general. Like,
You live in a web of lies.
yeah, exactly.
Man.
Yeah, that's it. That's end of part 2. So we'll have to get part 3 wrangled up here pretty soon.
I'm really hoping, I'm wondering if we get more of Moira as a human or as a spider. Yeah, I want more goth mummy, but
I hope a little bit of both. That'd be nice. I don't want to lose my brick, you know.
yeah, I do want that brick to soften back up. Can't build a house with no bricks, boy.
This house is made of bricks, boy. Yet again, if you didn't already on part 1, part 2, go over to Extruded Introvert, over to his Reddit page. I'll put a link in the description. Let him know how great this series is so far. I think if we had enough people go over there, maybe he'll make another 100 parts of it.
I love it.
You can't make something good last forever, but at the same time, yeah, I'm digging it. I can't wait to get into part 3.
I would love to watch this as like a mini series. I feel like between part 1 and 2 here, that's already probably a broken up couple episodes. It's really cool. I don't know where it's going, and that makes me excited. I can't wait to delve into part 3. I trust the path.
I trust the author. The way that they have written already, the way that they have guided us, I feel like I'm in good hands. All right, well, until next time, I'm the Migrant Masochis, here with Trough Son. Have yourself a great night. See you next time. Bye-bye now. Over the rainbow, grandma's house and stuff. Farewell.
You deserve those dreams, son. That's dumb.